Success, in its truest form, is not built upon applause, nor upon the noise of constant recognition. It begins in the quiet chambers of the heart, in the places unseen, where intentions are formed and character is refined. Privacy is not the enemy of progress. It is the soil in which progress is allowed to grow roots. There is a temptation in every age to display every thought, every plan, every triumph before the eyes of the world. We are urged to make our lives a stage, to share every step, as though validation were the proof of accomplishment. Yet, what is loud is not always strong, and what is exposed too early often withers before it has the chance to bloom. Privacy guards the delicate beginnings of vision. A seed, when buried in the earth, is hidden from sight. If you dig it up too soon to show others, it cannot grow. In the same way, your dreams require the shelter of silence. They need the unseen hours of labor, the unnoticed nights of reflection, the quiet battles fought within your soul. Only there, away from the clamor, can they gather the strength to break into the light. Privacy also preserves strength. When you keep certain matters to yourself, you protect your heart from unnecessary interference. The world is full of voices, some encouraging, many distracting, and others discouraging altogether. If every sacred plan is laid bare, it becomes vulnerable to the weight of other people's fears, doubts, or even envy. But in guarding your privacy, you allow your vision to stand on its own, tested by your courage rather than by the opinions of the crowd. There is also humility in privacy. True success is not a parade but a pilgrimage. The greatest victories are often silent ones, the moments when no one is watching but you choose discipline over comfort, patience over haste, integrity over compromise. These decisions rarely make headlines, but they shape the soul into something far more enduring than applause ever could. In the end, privacy is not isolation. It is preparation. It is not secrecy born of fear, but protection born of wisdom. To keep certain things private is to give them the dignity of growth, the strength of endurance, and the beauty of quiet unfolding. So if you would succeed, do not despise the silence, do not fear the unseen path. Let privacy be your ally, and in its shelter you will find not only success, but the strength of a life built on depth, humility, and truth. Privacy is the soil of success, and just as the richest harvest comes from the earth where roots have been hidden and nurtured, so does the greatest achievement emerge from the unseen spaces of a person's life. When a seed is placed into the ground, it disappears from the eyes of the world, but beneath the soil it is undergoing its most critical transformation. The darkness is not its enemy, but its ally. It is in that unseen world that the seed takes root, strengthens its core, and prepares itself to push through the surface into light. In the same way, the beginnings of success cannot be rushed into public view, because every vision, every dream, every ambition must first be given time to grow in private before it can endure in the open. There is something deeply misunderstood about privacy in our age. We mistake it for secrecy, as though keeping things hidden is somehow deceptive or small. But privacy is not a cage, it is a sanctuary. It is the quiet room where thoughts are tested, where mistakes can be made without ridicule, where ideas can be shaped without interruption. It is where a fragile vision, still vulnerable and tender, can gather its strength. To expose it too early to the harshness of judgment, to the winds of envy, or to the clamor of misunderstanding, is like pulling a plant from the earth to check whether it has grown. In trying to prove that it is alive, we kill it. In privacy, there is freedom. Freedom to fail without shame, to explore without interference, to create without the pressure of an audience. Every great inventor, writer, artist, or leader has known the value of those silent hours when no one is applauding, when no one is watching, when the only witness is the conscience and the only critic is the self. These moments of unseen work may never make a story worth telling, yet they are the foundation of every story that inspires. It is easy to admire the fruit of success, but it is the hidden root system, that keeps the tree alive. There is also a discipline to privacy. When you choose to keep your plans close to your chest, you learn patience. You resist the temptation of premature validation, the urge to announce every step in search of approval. You teach yourself to value the work itself rather than the applause that might come from it. In doing so, your character is strengthened. Privacy teaches restraint in a world that worships exposure, and it is restraint that builds resilience. By refusing to scatter your energy in constant display, you allow your efforts to grow deep rather than shallow, strong rather than fragile, and consider how privacy protects your inner life. Every dream has enemies, not only external opposition but the subtle, corrosive influence of comparison. The moment you share your vision too broadly, it becomes vulnerable to the doubts of others, the criticisms of those who do not understand, and the envy of those who wish you ill. Their words may be careless, but they land heavily on a vision not yet ready to endure them. Privacy acts as a shield, a safe enclosure around your calling, where the only voice that matters is the one within you urging you onward. Without that protection, even the brightest idea can be dimmed, and the strongest spirit can grow weary under the weight of unnecessary noise. Privacy is also where authenticity is born. When no one is watching, you learn who you truly are. You are not performing, not curating, not editing yourself for the approval of others. You are simply becoming. Success that grows from such a place is genuine because it has not been molded by outside expectation, but by inner conviction. The private life refines the motives behind the public life. Without privacy, success risks becoming nothing more than a performance, impressive on the surface but hollow at its core. But with privacy, success is rooted in something real, and what is real endures. Think of the great works of art, the breakthroughs of science, the profound moments of faith or philosophy. They all began in privacy. A pen scratching on paper in a quiet study, a scientist hunched over a desk unnoticed by the world, a thinker lost in contemplation, unheard and unseen. These are not dramatic images, yet within them lies the true drama of creation, the quiet struggle of a soul shaping something that will later move the world. We celebrate the result, but the result would not exist without the hidden labor that preceded it. Even in nature, the same law applies. The tallest tree once grew unseen in the soil, and the mightiest river once began as a trickle unknown to anyone. Greatness never announces itself at the beginning. It grows quietly, steadily, invisibly, until the day it can no longer be hidden. The world may marvel at the mountain, but the mountain was not built in the moment it was first noticed. It was shaped over centuries in silence, slowly, patiently, privately. To honor privacy in your own journey is to honor the process of becoming. It is to accept that success is not only about what the world sees, but about what the world never sees. The unseen hours of work, the uncelebrated acts of discipline, the moments of self-doubt overcome in silence. These are the hidden victories that give strength to the public triumphs. Without them, success is nothing more than a fragile facade, easily broken. With them, success becomes unshakable, rooted deeply in soil that no storm can wash away. Not all that is loud is strong, and what is displayed too early often withers before it matures. There is a great deception in the noise of the world, for we are taught to believe that what is most seen, most celebrated, and most broadcast is the measure of worth. Yet in reality, strength has never been proven by the volume of its sound, but by the depth of its substance. The roar of thunder may shake the sky, but it is the quiet falling of rain that nourishes the earth. A shallow stream makes much noise, while the deep river flows in silence. Loudness can be a mask for weakness, while quiet endurance reveals true power. The tragedy of displaying things too early is that they rarely survive the weight of exposure. A fruit picked before its time may shine for a moment, but it lacks sweetness and it decays quickly. In the same way, an idea, a plan, or a dream, if revealed before its roots are strong, becomes vulnerable to forces it was never ready to withstand. When we are too eager to show what we are building, we subject our work to scrutiny, envy, distraction, and doubt, all of which can choke the fragile beginnings of growth. Patience is not delay, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that every worthwhile thing must be given time to develop in the safety of preparation before it is ready to face the world. Consider the strength of a tree. Its branches may eventually spread wide, offering shade and bearing fruit. But its true strength lies not in what is visible above ground, but in the roots beneath. Those roots grow silently, hidden away, before the tree ever reaches for the sky. If the tree had tried to display its height before its roots were deep, the first storm would have torn it apart. The roots may not be seen, but they are the essence of endurance. So it is with human success. The world will one day notice the fruit, but the fruit will not last unless unseen labor has been allowed to grow roots in silence. We live in an age of premature exposure, where everything must be shared, documented, and put on display before it has even taken form. People rush to announce their beginnings as though the announcement itself guarantees completion. But the louder the noise, the more fragile the foundation often is. Strength does not need to shout. It is content to grow in silence until its maturity speaks for itself. The loudness of premature success may impress for a season, but it collapses quickly because it has not been tested by the quiet discipline of waiting, working, and preparing. Noise is often mistaken for significance. A crowd can cheer, lights can flash, voices can echo, but none of these things give true strength to what they surround. The applause of others may feel like confirmation, but it is only an illusion if the work has not been tested in private. A voice raised to the sky may command attention, but attention is not the same as influence. Influence is born from depth, and depth is cultivated in silence. What truly lasts does not need to beg for recognition. It creates its own recognition by the weight of its endurance. When something is displayed too early, it becomes defined by perception rather than reality. Others will shape their opinions, cast their judgments, and assign their expectations, and suddenly the vision that was once your own becomes enslaved to the voices of others. But when you give time for something to grow in quiet, you allow it to become solid, clear, and unshakable before it is ever seen. Then, when it finally emerges into the light, it carries a strength that no amount of noise can diminish. It is not easily swayed because it has already been refined in silence. There is also a subtle truth about maturity. It rarely arrives with noise. A person who is truly wise does not need to prove it with constant words. For wisdom speaks through presence, through action, through the quiet confidence that does not demand recognition. A person of true character does not rush to be noticed, because character knows its worth is not determined by visibility. So it is with dreams, with work, with success. What is real does not beg for attention. It waits, it grows, and then it endures. Think of the artist who spends years working in obscurity, perfecting their craft before anyone sees their masterpiece. Think of the thinker who studies in silence, laying down layer after layer of understanding before sharing a truth that changes lives. Think of the builder who labors quietly, brick upon brick, before anyone notices the structure rising from the ground. Their strength was not proven in the noise of early display, but in the discipline of quiet, unseen preparation. When the time came for their work to be revealed, it spoke for itself, needing no loud announcement to prove its worth. Even in human relationships, the principle is true. Loud promises may impress, but they fade. Quiet loyalty, steady and unseen, builds trust that cannot be shaken. Loud declarations of love may stir emotions for a moment, but it is the quiet actions of care, sacrifice, and constancy that prove the depth of love. Loudness may dazzle, but it does not last. Strength is proven by endurance, and endurance is forged in silence. The temptation to be loud is understandable, for the world rewards what it sees. Yet those who rush to show what they are building often discover that applause does not sustain growth. Applause fades, attention moves elsewhere, but the work itself remains unfinished. The stronger path is to resist the need for immediate recognition, to let silence do its refining work, and to allow the fruit of maturity to speak when the time is right. Not all that is loud is strong. True strength is not in noise but in quiet perseverance, not in premature display but in patient maturity. What lasts does not rush to be seen, and what is real does not need to shout. The strongest things in life, the roots of trees, the foundations of buildings, the convictions of the soul are formed in silence, hidden from view, until the day they are ready to endure the storms that will surely come. Guard your vision from unnecessary voices, for not every voice that reaches your ears carries wisdom. Not every opinion deserves weight, and not every piece of advice is spoken with your best interest at heart. The journey of success is not merely about the effort of your hands or the clarity of your mind, but also about the strength of your shield. The shield that keeps distractions, doubts, and destructive influences from corrupting what is pure and still unfolding within you. A dream in its early stages is like a candle flame in the wind. It shines with potential, but is easily extinguished if it is left unprotected. That protection is the discipline of privacy, the refusal to allow unnecessary voices to shape the fragile beginnings of what you are building. The world is filled with noise. Some of it is encouraging, but much of it is careless, thoughtless, or rooted in fear. Many people speak not from understanding, but from their own limitations. They project their insecurities onto others, believing that if something was impossible for them, it must be impossible for you. If you open your vision to every voice, you invite their doubts into your soul, and doubt has a way of multiplying until it drowns out conviction. Success requires clarity, and clarity cannot survive if it is constantly battered by conflicting and unnecessary opinions. You must choose carefully what you allow into the sacred space of your vision. Guarding your vision does not mean shutting yourself away from all counsel, for wise counsel is necessary, but it does mean discerning between wisdom and noise. Wisdom comes from those who understand, who have walked a path of discipline, who speak with humility and truth. Noise comes from those who merely react, who seek to impose their fears or their envy upon you. If you fail to make the distinction, you will carry the weight of voices that were never meant to guide you. A vision is not meant to be shaped by the crowd, but by the deep conviction within the one who carries it. There is also a danger in envy, and unnecessary voices often carry it hidden beneath polite words. Not everyone who hears of your vision will celebrate it. Some will seek to discourage you, not because your vision is flawed, but because it shines a light on their own lack of effort or courage. Others will mask their envy in the language of concern, urging you to settle for less, to stop before you fail, to choose the safe and predictable path. If you are not careful, their disguised envy will settle into your spirit as hesitation, and hesitation is often the death of dreams. Guarding your vision means knowing that not every smile hides good intentions, and not every piece of advice is free of selfish motives. Even well-meaning voices can be unnecessary. Friends and family may speak out of love, but not out of understanding. They may urge you to avoid risk because they fear losing you, or because they cannot imagine a world beyond what they know. Their voices may be tender, but tenderness is not always wisdom. Guarding your vision sometimes requires the painful act of silence, not sharing every step, not seeking approval from those who cannot see what you see. To guard your vision is to accept that others may misunderstand, and that misunderstanding is a price worth paying for clarity. Guarding your vision also means guarding your inner dialogue. Sometimes the loudest unnecessary voice is the one within, shaped by years of fear, comparison, or failure. It is easy to mistake this voice for truth, but it is often nothing more than the echo of other people's doubts planted in your past. If you do not learn to silence it, it will speak louder than your conviction. To guard your vision, You must strengthen the voice of faith within you, the voice that reminds you of your purpose, your capacity, and your calling. The vision entrusted to you is not fragile by design, but it becomes fragile if you allow it to be overrun by voices that were never meant to carry it. History is full of examples of those who guarded their visions against unnecessary voices. Think of the inventor who was told their ideas were foolish, yet pressed forward in silence until their creation changed the world. Think of the thinker who was mocked for their beliefs, yet endured until their wisdom reshaped generations. Their strength was not merely in their talent, but in their ability to hold their vision close, protecting it from the clamor of critics until it had grown strong enough to withstand them. If they had surrendered their vision to every unnecessary voice, their contributions would have died in infancy. The discipline of guarding your vision is also a discipline of focus. The more voices you entertain, the more directions you are pulled. A person pulled in every direction cannot move forward with strength, but one who chooses the right path and protects it from distraction advances with purpose. Guarding your vision means cutting off the noise, even if the noise is loud and alluring. It means reminding yourself that approval is not the measure of success, and that clarity is worth more than applause. When you guard your vision, you free yourself from the tyranny of needing to please everyone. You align yourself with the deeper truth of why you began. Guarding your vision requires humility because it means acknowledging that not every person needs to understand your journey. Success is not a committee decision. It is a covenant between your purpose and your perseverance. Those who demand explanations may never receive them, and those who mock your silence may one day marvel at your strength. To guard your vision is not arrogance. It is reverence for the sacredness of what has been entrusted to you. It is saying that your calling is too valuable to be thrown into the marketplace of careless words. There will always be voices trying to tell you who you are, what you should do, what you cannot do, and where you should stop. But your vision is not theirs to shape. Their voices may be loud, but loudness is not authority. Authority belongs to conviction, to truth, to the steady inner knowing that does not need to shout to be real. Guarding your vision from unnecessary voices is not only about preserving success. It is about preserving the integrity of who you are. For if you allow every voice to rewrite your path, you will end up living a life that is not your own. The truest victories are unseen, and they do not happen in the spotlight or in the presence of applause, but in the quiet chambers of the heart where choices are made that no one will ever know. The world often measures victory by trophies, medals, headlines, or recognition. Yet the victories that shape the soul rarely come with any of these. They are the moments when a person chooses discipline over indulgence, integrity over compromise, patience over haste, and courage over fear, even when no audience is present to celebrate it. These victories may not seem glamorous, but they are the foundation of all lasting success, for they shape character in a way that public triumphs never can. There is a kind of temptation to overlook these invisible battles because they feel too small, too insignificant to matter. Who notices when you resist the easy path and take the harder one? Who applauds when you rise early to work on your calling while others are still sleeping? Who celebrates when you choose to act with kindness instead of anger in a moment of frustration? The truth is very few people see, and yet it is in these hidden acts of strength that the greatest victories are won. They are not small at all, for they build the inner architecture of the soul, preparing it to carry the weight of larger responsibilities that will one day come. The unseen victories are also the most difficult, for they demand honesty when no one is watching. It is easier to act with integrity when others are observing, because fear of judgment or desire for praise keeps us in line. But what about when the room is empty, when the decision lies only between you and your conscience? That is the true battlefield. To remain faithful in that silence, to make the right choice when no reward is promised and no consequence is apparent, requires a strength that goes deeper than external accountability. It requires a character formed by conviction rather than convenience. Consider the athlete who competes in front of thousands. The crowd may see the final race, the dazzling performance, the medal ceremony, but they do not see the countless unseen victories that made that moment possible. They do not see the early mornings of training, the days of pain when quitting seemed easier, the quiet refusal of temptations that would have weakened discipline. Each of those invisible choices was a victory in itself, and without them, the visible victory would never have come. What is displayed publicly is only the surface. The unseen victories are the roots beneath the soil. The same is true for the artist who unveils a masterpiece. The world may gasp at the beauty of the finished work, but the unseen victories were in the long nights of frustration, the endless revisions, the quiet refusal to give up when the vision felt too heavy. For every success that dazzles in the light, there are 1,000 victories that no one witnessed. These are not celebrated, but they are the real measure of greatness. They prove that strength is not about performance, but about perseverance. Unseen victories also protect the soul from corruption. Public victories can intoxicate, filling a person with pride or dependence on recognition. But unseen victories humble you, reminding you that the greatest strength is not about being noticed, but about being true to yourself. When you learn to value these private triumphs, you no longer live for the applause of others. You become free, for your worth is no longer tied to whether the world approves. Your worth is rooted in the knowledge that you stood firm when it mattered most, even if no one else will ever know. The truest victories test patience. Success does not arrive overnight, and the hidden battles of persistence can feel endless. To continue walking forward when progress is invisible, to continue believing when there is no evidence of breakthrough, to continue planting seeds when the soil looks barren, these are victories that require extraordinary resilience. They are victories of faith where the act of continuing itself becomes the triumph. Many give up because they cannot see results, but those who remain steadfast in silence win a victory greater than the visible one, the victory of endurance. In relationships, too, the unseen victories matter most. Choosing forgiveness instead of bitterness, showing kindness instead of retaliation, holding your tongue when anger burns within you. These choices are not celebrated by crowds, but they shape the bond between souls. The strength of a relationship does not rest on grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but on the quiet daily victories of love, patience, and sacrifice. These victories may be invisible to the world, but they are etched deeply into the lives of those who are touched by them. Even in the realm of personal growth, unseen victories carry the greatest weight. Overcoming fear, resisting temptation, refusing to be defined by past failures. These are victories no one may ever see. There is no audience to applaud the moment you decide to rise again after falling, no crowd to cheer when you choose hope instead of despair. Yet these victories are monumental, for they determine the course of your life far more than any external recognition ever could. The world may not know when you win these battles, but you know, and the strength you gain from them becomes unshakable. The unseen victories are not measured by the size of the challenge, but by the depth of the choice. Sometimes it is a small decision that changes everything, a single moment of courage, a single act of integrity, a single choice to stay true. The world may overlook these moments, but they are like stones laid in the foundation of a great building. Without them, the structure would collapse. With them, it can endure any storm. Greatness is not in the visible tower, but in the invisible stones that hold it firm. There is a profound peace that comes from winning these unseen victories. You may never hold a medal for them, you may never be applauded, but you walk with a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken. You know who you are because you have been tested in silence and found faithful. You know what you can endure because you have carried burdens without complaint. You know the strength of your spirit because it has been proven in battles no one else will ever understand. That peace is worth more than any recognition, because it is rooted in truth. Not in perception, the world may forever celebrate the visible victories, but the truest victories will always remain unseen. They are hidden in the discipline of daily life, in the integrity of silent choices, in the resilience of unseen struggles, in the courage of private faith. They do not glitter, they do not shout, They do not demand attention, yet they carry a weight that outlasts applause. They are the victories that build character, shape destiny, and make every visible success possible. Privacy is preparation, not isolation, for there is a difference between hiding in fear and protecting what is sacred until it is ready to stand on its own. Too often people confuse privacy with withdrawal, as if keeping things private means cutting oneself off from the world. But privacy is not about running away, it is about building strength in silence so that when the time comes, you can stand firm in the open. Privacy is the workshop of greatness, the training ground of the soul, the hidden forge where character, clarity, and conviction are shaped before they are tested by the eyes of others. It is not the denial of connection, but the wise decision to wait until what you are building is strong enough to endure connection without collapse. Preparation is what makes privacy powerful. Every soldier who enters the battlefield has spent months or years training where no one was watching. Every musician who fills a hall with sound has spent countless hours practicing in solitude. Every writer whose words stir the heart has spent lonely nights wrestling sentences into shape. The public sees the performance, but the performance is only possible because of the preparation, and the preparation is possible only because of the privacy that guarded it. To display everything before it is ready is to weaken it, to expose it to winds it cannot yet withstand. To hold it in privacy until it matures is to strengthen it until no storm can undo it. Privacy is also protection. Not everyone who sees your vision will understand it, and not everyone who hears your dream will celebrate it. The more you expose something in its infancy, the more you invite interference, doubt, and distortion. Privacy gives you the shield you need to protect your vision from those who might unconsciously weaken it, or consciously try to destroy it. It is not about mistrusting everyone, but about recognizing that not every voice deserves to shape what you are building. In privacy, you give your dream the space to grow freely without being suffocated by unnecessary expectations. There is a rhythm in life that demands both privacy and exposure, both preparation and performance. A seed must remain buried for a time before it can break through the soil, and if it is uncovered too soon, it dies. But if it remains hidden long enough to form roots, when it does finally emerge, it grows with strength and beauty. So it is with success. There is a time to remain quiet, to let things grow in hidden soil, to water them with discipline and patience. Then when the time is right, there is a time to reveal them not as fragile beginnings but as strong realities. To confuse these two times is to invite failure, but to honor them is to invite endurance. Privacy gives space for mistakes. In private, you can stumble, fail, and learn without the harshness of public scrutiny. You can experiment, explore, and refine until what remains is something tested and true. Public failure is heavy because it carries the weight of judgment, but private failure is fertile because it carries the gift of learning. Those who understand the value of privacy do not rush their process. They allow themselves to be refined in secret so that when they step forward ready. Privacy is where raw talent becomes skill, where vague ideas become clear plans, where uncertain steps become confident strides. Privacy is not loneliness, though it may often feel solitary. Loneliness is emptiness, but privacy is fullness. It is being so deeply engaged with your growth, your purpose, and your preparation that you do not need the constant presence of others to sustain you. In fact, it is often in privacy that you learn to hear yourself most clearly, to discover your own voice amid the noise of countless others. Without privacy, it is easy to be lost in imitation, echoing what others expect or applaud. In privacy, you find authenticity, the unshakable sense of who you are and what you are meant to do. There is strength in choosing privacy. In a world that rewards constant exposure, it takes courage to remain hidden, to resist the urge to share everything, to delay recognition for the sake of maturity. Privacy is a discipline, and discipline is always a form of strength. It requires you to silence impatience, to trust the process, and to believe that the fruit of your labor will speak louder than any premature announcement ever could. Those who understand this truth are not weakened by their silence. They are empowered by it, for they know that preparation is never wasted. Privacy also nurtures humility. To work in private is to accept that you may go unseen, unrecognized, uncelebrated for a time, and that is not easy in a world hungry for validation. But humility is forged in such seasons. It teaches you to value the work itself more than the recognition it might bring. To pursue excellence not because others are watching, but because it matters to your soul. And when recognition does come, humility keeps you grounded, because you remember the countless hours of unseen labor that built what the world now admires. Every lasting achievement has its roots in preparation, and every preparation requires privacy. The house that stands firm was built long before anyone stepped inside it. The book that moves readers was crafted long before it sat on a shelf. The leader who inspires millions was formed long before they stood on a stage. Their strength was not found in exposure but in preparation, and their preparation was made possible by privacy. The beauty of privacy is that it allows you to grow at your own pace without comparison or competition. In private, you are free from the constant measuring of others' timelines, free to make progress quietly, steadily, without the pressure of proving anything to anyone. You can honor your unique journey, your unique rhythm, and trust that when the time comes, the preparation you have done in silence will manifest in a way that no one can deny. Privacy frees you from the tyranny of rushing, and rushing is often the enemy of true greatness. Those who skip privacy, who expose everything too soon, often find that their success is shallow and short-lived. Without preparation, they crumble under pressure because their foundation was never laid strong in silence. But those who embrace privacy discover that when their moment of exposure comes, they are unshakable. They have built in silence what no one can take away. Privacy gave them the space to grow deep roots, and roots are what hold a tree steady when storms rage. Privacy is not isolation, because isolation is barren, but privacy is fertile. Isolation closes you off, but privacy builds you up. Isolation fears connection, but privacy prepares you for it. Isolation weakens, but privacy strengthens. To embrace privacy is to embrace the wisdom of timing, the necessity of patience, and the discipline of growth. It is to believe that what is prepared in silence will one day shine more brightly than what is shouted into existence too soon. It is to trust that the unseen work matters, that the hidden labor is not wasted, that the preparation in private is the very thing that gives life its strength in public.